I'm Rachel Neiman, and this PowerPoint presentation is on the hamstring to quadricep strength ratio, a comparison of dominant and non-dominant lower limbs and angular velocity. The hamstrings to quadricep strength ratio, or HQ ratio, can be defined as the ratio of the peak torque of the concentric contraction of the hamstring muscle to the peak torque of the concentric contraction of the quadriceps muscle. It is usually often measured using an isokinetic dynamometer, and a healthy HQ range of 50 to 80% is widely accepted, with a HQ of less than 60% has been found to increase the risk of injury. It has also been found that muscle imbalance is not necessarily consistent through different velocities. The HQ ratio has been seen to successfully predict injury in sport, with several studies focusing on the bilateral difference in the HQ ratios. Bilateral differences can be looked at in terms of dominant and non-dominant limbs, with the dominant leg being used for kicking and the non-dominant leg used for stability. High repetitions of sport-specific movements, such as in soccer, can cause HQ ratio imbalances. Previous studies have been inconsistent in their findings on the bilateral differences in HQ ratios, with differences found both within and between sports and training backgrounds. Further investigation is needed into the bilateral difference in HQ ratios. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to test the difference between dominant and non-dominant limbs in the HQ ratio at various angular velocities. The hypotheses are that the HQ ratios will be significantly different in dominant and non-dominant legs, and that HQ ratios are different at different velocities. 39 college-age exercise and sports science students volunteered to participate in the study, with 7 males and 32 females. 33 of the 39 participants nominated their right leg as being the dominant leg. The study design was descriptive cross-sectional, and the key outcome measures were the isokinetic peak torque of the hamstrings and quadriceps for the dominant and non-dominant leg at the angular velocities of 30, 120 and 240 degrees per second. Peak torque was measured using the isokinetic dynamometer, which was set up for each participant according to standard procedures. All left legs were tested first, with 5 repetitions of maximal effort at each velocity completed. The data was analysed using a factorial 2x3 analysis of variance for dominant and non-dominant legs and the angular velocities of 30, 120 and 240 degrees per second. Post hoc analyses were completed on significant data. The results can be seen in the figure, with the x-axis displaying the dominant and non-dominant limb results, and the y-axis showing the HQ ratio percent. The data is presented as mean and plus or minus the standard error. It can be seen here that there was no significant difference between legs for either the 30, 120 or 240 degrees per second. Looking at each leg individually for the angular velocities, a significant increase in the HQ ratio was seen between 30 degrees per second and 240 degrees per second, and 120 degrees per second and 240 degrees per second. There was no significant difference between 30 and 120 degrees per second. A similar result was seen in the non-dominant leg. No difference in leg strength was seen between dominant and non-dominant legs at any of the tested velocities. This may have been because HQ ratios can vary according to sporting background for a variety of different sports, training background, including trained versus untrained participants or elite versus recreational participants, age, and gender. Therefore, the lack of asymmetry seen in this study may have been due to the participant characteristics, with the participants coming from a wide variety of training backgrounds. A limitation to the study may have been the lack of randomization of leg order, which may have favored one group of participants in terms of limb dominance. The HQ ratio was significantly higher at the velocity of 240 degrees per second, which is consistent with most previous studies. No significant difference was seen in the HQ ratio between 30 degrees per second and 120 degrees per second, which is mostly inconsistent with previous studies. A previous study, finding a similar result, hypothesized that this may have been due to the participant characteristics, which may explain the results seen in this study also. In conclusion, the lack of significant difference in HQ ratios between legs and angular velocities of 30 and 120 degrees per second may be explained by the variety of training backgrounds of the participants. When selecting angular velocities for testing, specific movement velocities should be selected. The practical implications of the study suggest that asymmetries in leg strength need to be evaluated on the base of the activity. Hamstring to quadriceps strength ratios need to be assessed regularly to identify and correct imbalances. And implementing training programs specific to any imbalances found may increase performance and reduce the risk of injury. Thank you.